Hi guys, and welcome to a new video. This week I'm going to be showing you how to carry out the 600-mile service on this cheeky little monkey bike. This bike's at 450 miles from new, so it's a little bit early, but the owner wanted me to carry out the service anyway. So I thought I'd make a little video about it just in case any of you guys are at your 600-mile service and you wanted to do it yourself. As with all my engine services, I like to warm the engine up first, and that's just to make the oil less viscous so it drains out nicely. And it's the perfect opportunity to give this little monkey bike a test ride. The first 600-mile service is arguably the most important service you'll carry out on a motorbike, and that's because in the first few hundred miles of riding the bike, the internal engine components are still wearing in, so the piston rings, the cylinder walls, gears, they're all breaking in, and with that you're going to get really tiny metal particles build up in the oil, and to avoid that contaminated oil circulating around the engine for too long, we need to carry out an oil and filter change at 600 miles. Here you can see the maintenance schedule from the manual. All that's required at 600 miles is engine oil change, and we change the filter regardless. That goes without saying, when you do an oil change, always replace the filter. It also says to inspect the engine idle speed. Begin the oil change by locating the fill cap on the side of the engine, and just make sure you can remove that before you drain the engine oil out. The last thing you want to do is drain the oil out and then realise you can't fill the engine back up because you can't get the fill cap off. I'm telling you this because I've made the same mistake in the past, and I always start with the fill plugs now. So get your oil catch tray and put that underneath the engine, and you're going to want a 12mm socket to remove the sump plug. An extension bar is also handy because the sump plug sits in between the exhaust pipe, so it's a little bit difficult to reach if you don't have an extension bar. So just get up in there and loosen off the sump plug bolt. The location of the sump plug makes it a little bit awkward to drain with this exhaust pipe on because it sits directly in the middle of the exhaust pipe. So if you drain the oil out with the motorbike on the side stand, the oil will spill all over the exhaust pipe. So to avoid this, you want to put the motorbike in the upright position so the oil drains directly in between the exhaust pipe into the catch tray. If you've got a centre stand, that's great, use it. But in this case I haven't got one for this bike, so we're just going to be holding it in the upright position until the oil is drained out. Alternatively, you could cover up the exhaust pipe with a shield, maybe some tin foil, something like that, just so it doesn't get coated in oil. It's not the end of the world if you do spill a bit of oil on the exhaust pipe. Just make sure you wipe it clean before you start the engine up, or else it's going to be very smoky when it warms up. I remove the oil fill cap to allow the engine to vent, and this should allow the last remaining oil to drain out of the engine. I put the fill cap back on the engine loosely just so that I don't lose it, and then we can move on to changing the oil filter. I place this angled funnel directly below the oil filter cover, so that way the oil will drain straight into the catch tray. Remove the two 8mm bolts which hold the cover on, and then remove the cover. Be careful not to lose the spring. So just take the spring out and put it to one side, and then you might need a little tool to hook out the old filter. For this I just use a small screwdriver bit to carefully prise it out from the engine. With the old oil filter removed, we can now tilt the motorbike from side to side just to try and get out that last little bit of oil. Using some clean paper towel, I then wipe out where the filter sits, making sure it's thoroughly clean in there and we've got rid of all the old oil. I found this little K&N oil filter online that fits this engine, and I've opted to use that because K&N are renowned for making high quality performance parts for engines. So I'll put a link to this one in the description if you want to get one. And in my opinion, I think the K&N oil filter is probably better than the OEM Honda one that comes with the engine, and let me show you why. If we do a side-by-side comparison, we've got the K&N oil filter on the left and the OEM Honda one on the right. You can see the K&N one has got a lot more pleats in it, and more pleats means it's using more filter material, therefore a larger surface area for catching dirt. So in my eyes that makes it a better filter, but let me know what you think in the comments, K&N or OEM. With the brand new filter fitted, I then clean the filter cover. I'm not using any harsh chemicals on this, just some clean paper towel to get rid of any of the old oil residue. Harsh chemicals like brake cleaner and carb cleaner can damage the O-ring, so it's best to avoid them for this if you want to reuse the O-ring. I refit the clean spring and then refit the oil cover. making sure not to damage the O-ring when I refit it. I put the 2 bolts back in and then screw them down evenly so we don't pinch the O-ring and damage the filter cover. So just do them up evenly and then nip them up using a ratchet. And then we're going to torque them to specification, which is very low for these bolts, only 5.2 Newton meters. So make sure you don't over torque them as you may damage the threads. The sump plug has a single use washer, so make sure you replace that with one of these crush type washers. I'm using a copper one. It's made out of a soft metal so that when you tighten it and torque it to specification, it forms a seal around the sump plug. Another recommendation I'd make for your engine is to install a magnetic sump plug. I'm quite surprised that this engine doesn't already come with one as standard, so I'll be installing one of those at the next service interval. And the good thing about a magnetic sump plug is it attracts any metallic particles from the oil to the sump plug, so it stops it going around the engine. With the oil from the sump cleaned off and a new crush washer fitted to the sump plug, I refit it and torque it to specification, which is 24 Newton meters, so get your torque wrench with an extension bar and torque it up. Make sure you dispose of the old engine oil responsibly at your local recycling centre. Find yourself a suitable funnel and fill the engine up with good quality engine oil. I'm using genuine Honda 10W30, so we can't go wrong with this one. And the engine takes just over 900 mils of oil, so pour in 900 mils. And if you use good quality engine oil, the bottle usually has measurements on the side of it, which takes away the guesswork when measuring the oil. This engine uses a sight glass rather than a dipstick, so just put the bike in the upright position and check that the oil level sits between the minimum and maximum line. Refit the fill cap and then start the engine to allow the oil to circulate. Allow the oil to circulate around the engine for about a minute. This will just give the new filter a chance to absorb the oil. Check to make sure you haven't got any oil leaks from around the filter cover or from the sump plug. With the bike in the upright position, we can check the oil level one last time. And if we look through the sight glass, we can see just how clean that oil is, and it sits slap bang in the middle of the minimum and maximum lines. And that is how you carry out the 600-mile service, oil and filter change on the Honda Monkey bike. To give you an idea of how much this service cost at an independent garage, I found this receipt online. Somebody was selling a Monkey bike and it had this receipt in the item description. And you can see they paid £150 for the 600-mile service. An hour's labour, £95 there, and the parts £30 plus VAT. So by doing it yourself, you're saving quite a lot of money. I don't know how much you'd pay yourself an hour, but for me, £95 an hour doesn't seem too bad, to be honest. And this was at an independent garage, so I dread to think how much it would be if you took it to the main dealer. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it useful and you enjoyed watching it. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And if you click the alarm bell, you'll get notifications when I post new videos. YouTube's also got this new hype feature, so if you click the hype button below, hopefully more people will see the video, and I'd really appreciate that because I'm trying to grow the channel. We've just hit 15,000 subscribers and I'm absolutely over the moon about it. It's taken 5 years to get there, and I couldn't do it without you guys supporting the channel, liking the videos, commenting, subscribing and sharing them. So thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Cheers guys, take care.